Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce my name. My name is Muhammad Fikri Haq from semester 3, and I here to fulfill my assignment, my midterm assignment from class language teaching methodology, listening and speaking. Question 1. Explain about four strands. What are they and how do they work? For the first one, we have to know what is strand. Strands are the principal theory on second language acquisition in classroom as the basis of planning. It may be listening, speaking, reading, or maybe it for writing programs for learner of English as a second or foreign language. The basic argument of the principal theory is that a well-balanced language course should consist of four roughly equal strands. Number 1, learning through meaning focused input. Second, learning through focused output. The third, learning through deliberate attention to language item and language features. And the fourth, developing fluency development. I will explain number 1 first. Learning through meaning focused input, that is learning through listening and reading, where the learner's attention is on the ideas and message conveyed by the language. This trend is prioritizing the improvement of listening and reading skills. For example, by watching movies, listening a conversation, reading books, and many other listening and reading activities. It is input. Input meaning you don't have to do anything. You do not have to do anything. The input is coming from our mind. It's coming from outside of our mind. And this is the way you obtain an knowledge or some many information, other information. And the second one, learning through meaning focused output. That is learning through speaking and writing, where the learner's attention is on conveying ideas, message to another person. This trend is prioritizing the improvement of writing and speaking skills. For example, by talking to another person, making a job application letter, and many other writing and speaking skills. And talking to another person, you have to speak, you have to speak, you have to talk. This is improve the speaking skill, and making a job application letter. This will improve our writing skill. So this trend meaning that we have to output our mind, our ideas, our opinion based on our act. Number 3, learning through deliberate attention to language items and language features. That is learning through direct vocabulary study, through grammar, exercise, explanation, sound, spelling, discourse feature, deliberate learning and practice, many more. On this trend, the lecturers should prioritize the insight, the improvement and the insight of the student, especially for grammar, pattern, sentence, fixing their pronunciation, and give them practice to make it better. And the fourth one, developing fluency development, use of noun, language item and features offer the 4 skills of listening, speaking, reading and writing, that is becoming fluent with what is already known. This trend is based on 3 above, but on this trend the learner should become more fluent by repetition and using it based on the situation, or improving many more. There are many ways to improve this. For example, you can directly ask to the stranger or native speaker. This is really develop your fluency development. These 4 strands have to balance one for all. These 4 strands are called meaning focused input, meaning focused output, language focused learning, and fluency development. A well language course has an appropriate balance of these 4 strands. It is through these 4 strands that learner achieve the learning goals of a language course, namely fluent control of the sound, spelling, vocabulary, grammar, and discourse features of the language, so that they can be used to communicate effectively. Question number 2. Why do students tend to read like the reader. Learners notice that there is something they don't know. When writing, they rather read like a reader, giving attention to how others say what they wanted to say. This is often referred to as moving from semantic to syntactic processing. This is similar to a chess player, not just enjoying up. If we are watching a chess player, they play. When we not just enjoying their performance, but also analyzing their technique, their strategies, and we hope that we can use the technique that they are using in our experience too. For example, if you read a passage and that, oh, this is happy passage, you have to read it with the happy emotion too, not read the angry the happy emotion. You cannot read it the angry emotion. It is not compatible, right? So this is why this is important, and tend to read like the reader. This will bring the students to observe, to copy, to imitate this technique that they found, and when that happens, the students will face many trial and error on their way. Keep developing their techniques will improve the abilities of the students. Number 3, explain the 5 principles for teaching beginners. Okay, there are 5 teaching beginners. Very simple. They are called minus. M, meaning, interest, N, new language, MENU, U, understanding, S, stress-free. Meaning, focus on meaningful and relevant. The second one, interest is maintaining interest through a variety of activities. New language, avoid overloading learners with too much new language. Number 4, provide plenty of comprehensible input. And 5, create a friendly, safe, cooperative classroom environment. Notice that the first letter for each of the keyword spells out the acronym minus. Okay, principle 1. Focus on meaningful and relevant content. The main focus should be on language that the learners can use quickly for their purposes rather than on too much grammar explanation or on words that are not directly useful. Here are some simple sentences that can be learned very early in a course so that the learners can use them right away and right now too. My name is fill blank. I come from fill blank. I live in fill blank. My address is fill blank. So the stranger that want to use this only fill the information that they need. My name is Muhammad Fikri Haq. My name is Muhammad Azala. My name is. You can only fill the blank. I come from Banjarmasin, Tanah Laut, Kurau, Pelahari. Like that. The teacher could present this sentence orally, one by one, with gesture and lots of repetition. Very lots of repetition and learner involvement. The sentence could then be written on whiteboard. First step, so that the learners can write them down. The written versions then become the basis for fair work. The first aim of this learning is for learners or students to be able say these things about themselves without looking on the whiteboard, and also they have understand what are the other person talking about without looking whiteboard too. The second aim is for learners to begin to link the written and spoken forms of the words. For learners who are not very familiar with the written form in English, recognizing the written form of their name and address is an important early step in building literacy. For the checking useful of the phrase or word, you can use a named computer's condenser. And one of the most useful techniques in a listening and speaking program is the teacher engaging in meaning-focused dialogue with the learners. This dialogue can have many different focus. First one, classroom management. Second, informal conversation. 3. Recalling professional lesson. 4. Finding out learner opinion ideas. Only 4. First one, classroom management. Classroom management is the meaning that the atmosphere of the site of the classroom. For example, making a group, keeping their behavior, and checking attendance, thanking and praising. This is what happened inside, right? And the second one, informal conversation. The teacher and learners talk about things that happen outside the school. Where appropriate, this can be about the learner's family. For example, oh, where do you come from? What are your hobbies? What are your favorite food? How do you travel school? How many money that you have? For example, like that. It is called informal conversation. Number 3, recalling professional lesson. The teacher and learners talk about the last meeting, of the material. This draws on what is hopefully known and familiar, and also provides opportunities for revision. Yes, for revision on the last meeting. So, if their phone, see the student have wrong, the teacher can fix immediately. And number 4, finding out learners' opinion and ideas. During an activity, the teacher can ask the learners if they like the particular activity and if they want to do more of it. This dialogue can be the early beginnings of a part negotiation syllabus. For example, if you're doing a game and then the students want it more, you can give it as long there are plenty of time if to do it. Principle number 2, maintain interest through variety of activities. To maintain learners' interest, activities need to be short and varied, and to involve the learners in responding to you or using language. Here are some simple ways to keep learners' interest in learning. Number 1, do activities that involve movement. Psychomotor. Use role object and pictures. Plan trips to outside of the classroom. For example, a trip to a local supermarket linked to simple food search game. Use song and simple chants in between those games, such as bingo. And the last one, introduce and practice new content through talk games such as bingo. Principle number 3, avoid overloading learners with too much new language. There is usually little need to focus on grammar in the early parts of a course for beginners. Instead, lessons should focus on learning set phrases and words. Teachers often make the mistake of introducing too much new language without giving learners enough opportunities or time to gain control over this language. A simple rule to keep in this mind is learn a little, use a lot. Of. For example, if the goal is to learn the names for the part of the body, it is better to focus on the most useful, and the high frequency word, such as head, neck, arm, hand, legs, feet, and so on, and avoid less common words such as elbow, ankle, kidney, liver. Avoid that word. Note that introducing elbow and ankle at the same time creates another problem. The similarities between these words, they sound a bit the same and their meaning are related, is likely to lead to learner confusing each word for the other. To apply the principle of learn a little, use a lot, the body words need to be practiced in a variety of ways. This could include picture games, information transfer activities, action games, and bingo. The words can then be used in simple sentence pattern and dialogue such as how are you, not so good. How are you, not so good, my heart. These activities I will describe later. Principle 4. Provide plenty of comprehensible input. Not that most these activities mentioned above first involve learner in learning the words through listening and doing before they deepen their learning through using the word and good at speaking. If speaking If speaking is pushed too early, learners may be more likely to transfer L1 phonology. What is L1 phonology? It meaning that language as first. First, we are L2. We are second language. ESL, and to concentrate on mechanical difficulties, activities like listen and do, picture ordering, bingo, information transfer show how listening can be practiced in a very effective way without requiring much speaking. To ensure that input can be understood, requires use of visual aid and contextual support for new language, including pictures, gesture, meme, object, experience of class. Teachers also need to think carefully about language they use in class, with the aim of keeping their text simple but not simplistic, or not does not mean ungrammatical. One way to do this is to always use one form for one meaning. Thus, for example, the teacher need to decide whether to use my name is or I am. If you are using my name is, always use that. My name is. Don't change it in the middle of the class or in middle semester. Don't change it. Always use my name is. So the student will remember it, memorize it. Cannot but early in the course, learner can also learn simple phrases for controlling input, such as "Sorry, I don't understand. Please say it again." This is the instruction for if you wanna asking a repetition. Displaying these phrases on a large poster makes them readily available throughout the course. If the learner do not all speak the same first language, if the teacher does not speak the first language of the learner, then pictures, gesture as the use of the context need to be used to get meaning across. This is not as difficult as it sounds, and if the learner also have a well-established course. Older learners may make use of bilingual dictionaries while give the meanings of the second language word in the learner's first language. These dictionaries need to have a second language vocabulary of at least 2,000 words before they can use monolingual dictionaries, where meanings are given in the second language. This is because a vocabulary of around 2,000 words is needed to write and understand definition. Number 5. Create a friendly, safe cooperation classroom environment. There is strong evidence that anxiety influenced learners' willingness to communicate in a second language by paying attention to the first four principles, right? Minus, MENO. Some of the factors that contribute to a positive beginner's classroom are variety, movement, physical comfort, frequent interaction, successful language career, and opportunities for learners to experiment and make mistakes without penalties. This 5 is minus, right? The question number 4: what are the teaching techniques for listening and speaking? I already said that on the previous question, so I will sorting the question and the answer of this. The techniques are activities that improve listening and speaking while making comparison either between the students or the students to the teacher. The activities can be done such as description, stage 1, 2, 3 question, ask and move, 20 question, walk and talk. What is description? Description, for example, you give them a pictures and order them to convey the meaning. This is the description, normal description. What is stage 1, 2, 3 question? It is unventured from description, but containing three stage. Stage 1, you will the question will be only facted or written in the picture. For example, what is the thing that behind of the door? Blue fan. And the second one, why do you know that is a fan? Because it got some air. And the third question, why John active the blue fan, because he wants some fresh air. Like that is stage 1, 2, 3 question. And activity 3x and move 20 question will attack also same. And 20 question, for example, is I will skip directly because I need something to do. And number 5, explain why listening is a massive way to learn a language. In this view of language learning, listening is the way of learning in the language. It gives the learner information from which to build up the knowledge necessary for using the language. When this knowledge is built up, the learners can begin to speak. The listening only period is a time of observation and learning which provides the basis for the other language skill. It has been claimed that over 50% of the time that students spend functioning in a foreign language will be devoted to listening. Despite this, we often take the importance of listening for granted, and it is arguably the least understood and most overlooked of the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing in the language classroom. Listening is the natural precursor to speaking. The most early stage of language development in a person is first language. In naturalistic, the acquisition of the other languages are dependent on listening. Many facts show that both oracy and literacy development needed growing attention in first language education. Prior to this, it was taken for granted that first language speakers needed instruction in how to read and how to write, but not how to listen, but also not how to speak, because these skills were automatically acquired by native speakers. Similarly, in second language learning, research in the century to 20th century suggests that listening had a very important role. This emphasis on listening was related to a corresponding drop in the importance given to speaking in the early stage of learning. Because if we are already born, we are just born, the first step that we are going to get is listening. Listening skill is the first one that we obtain. With several readers saying that speaking early in a course should be actively discouraged. One of the strongest arguments for emphasizing listening and delaying speaking is based on a particular view of what it means to learn a language. Some approaches to language teaching have given a lot of importance to speaking. In the very first lesson, learner did speaking drills involving repetition and substitution. The lesson involved almost as much speaking as listening, because listening was seen as a way to present models that learners immediately copied. The aim of learning a language was to speak, and language was viewed as a type of behavior. And the last question, number 6. What are the activities to do to learn listening? There are so many activities to learn listening, but I will explain only early stage and only for the beginner. In children's classes, the prototypical teacher-fronted listening technique for meaning-focused input is a listening to stories. The teacher chooses a graded reader. What is graded reader? Graded reader is a passage story that have a level on either each their level: intermediate, low, advanced. There are many graded reader levels. Okay, I will continue. That is, there are only a few unknown words in the story. There are only few low frequent words that you might find. The teacher sits next to the whiteboard and slowly read the story of the learners to the learners. Initially, most sentences are read twice and are read slowly, reading by slowly. All the time, the teacher is watching to see that the learners understand what they hear. When words come up that the learners might not recognize or which might be unknown to the learners, the teacher quickly writes them on the board and gives a quick explanation using either a translation, a gesture, a pointing, a quick drawing, or a simple second language definition synonym. If the same word or another member of its word family occurs again, the teacher points to it on the board. Learners become familiar with the story of the teacher, reads a little faster again, and cuts down the repetition and explanation. The main goal of this activity is for the learner is to follow and enjoy the story. After about 10 minutes, The teacher stops at a suitable point, such as at the end of the chapter, at the activity ends, or to be continued, and the end of the paragraph, or many more. Listening to the story becomes an eagerly anticipated activity, similar to following a serialized program on TV. This technique has the following features. So only there are only three that they have to follow. Number one, the learners. The requirement of this technique only three. The learners are interested in what they are listening to. They are able to understand what they are listening to, and the material is at the right level for the learner. This is the main purpose of the listening stories main goals. I think this was my midterm assignment. Thank you very much.